In uncertain times, one of the things that we know, one of the things that we are certain of, is God still sits on his throne. We can take lots of comfort in that. As parents, we've never been through anything like this virus, like this epidemic. And I know we have a lot of questions about, what's appropriate to share with our kids? Are they old enough to know about this virus? What's appropriate for them and what isn't? How do I model peace? How do I walk through this in such a way that does not do harm to my child? How can I stay relationally present with my kids? Because one of the things we want to avoid as parents is we feel like, gosh, I've got to be the perfect parent through this. There's already been the perfect parent. That job's already taken. That's God. We need to be the compassionate parent, not the perfect parent. So how do I stay connected to my kids during this time when it's high stress and lots of things coming at us at real high speeds, right? And what do I do for me as a parent when the world feels like it's crashing down around me? How do I take care of myself? You're going to hear from Kara Burr, who is an excellent therapist. She treats kids, adolescents, adults. She's going to talk to you about these ideas. I hope it's helpful for you.
So our first question that we're going to look at is, what exactly do we share with our children about the coronavirus? And as parents, we want to make sure that what we share is developmentally appropriate for our children. And so we want to consider the different ages, and instead of just speaking a lot of information at them, we want to come to them relationally and just ask them, what are you wondering about the coronavirus? And then with our children's response, they will give us an answer that helps us see what they're thinking about. That way we don't add to any of their fears or worries, but that we just get to respond to their specific question that they have concisely. And then the second thing that we want to do when it comes to sharing information about the coronavirus is sticking with some of the very basic facts. Some of those facts include that the virus is very contagious, and so out of protection of ourselves and others, we're going to stay at home. Secondly, the virus is more serious for those who are older or those who've had pre-existing health conditions. Third, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that our family stays well. And then the last one is that God is going to be with us during this difficult season. The second question that we're facing as parents is, how do we model a spirit of peace to our children? And anxiety is rampant right now, and I know that we're all struggling with it in some way or another, and our children are perceptive of it. They pick up on our worry. And so there are two main ways to measure if you are struggling with anxiety right now, and one is through your thoughts. Are your thoughts consisting of the word "what if"? If so, then you are propelling yourself towards the future worries that we can't control. Also, with your thoughts, are you stifling them by living in a distracted manner? That might look like spending more time looking at your phone than engaging with the children in your family and your household. And if that's the case, there is an antidote to fear, and one of that is being present and being in the moment. And I want to talk about a grounding technique because that will help us be present, because when we are present, then we can be relationally present with our children. And so one grounding technique is to use your senses. What can you see? What can you hear? What can you taste, touch, smell? An idea is to maybe, if you can, go outside, lay down, look up under a tree and watch the wind go through the leaves. Another idea is light your favorite candle and inhale deeply. Take it in, enjoy it, see what's happening in the very moment by using your senses. I love this skill because it reminds me of the good gifts that God has given me, and it shows me how He is intervening in my life currently, and I can just thank Him for it. I can thank Him for the smell of the candle. I can thank Him for how beautiful it is to watch wind go through tree leaves. And I think he loves that. I think he loves that response. He loves for his children to be thankful. Lastly, we can see our fear as an opportunity to model dependence on our God. We don't have to pretend to have it all together with our children. We can communicate that we sometimes feel worry. And even with our kids by our sides, we can reflect about how our God knows our needs and how specifically that day he has taken good care of us. The third question we're facing as parents is how can we be relationally present with our children when they are having so much disappointment and confusion? And for our children right now, they are really disappointed that they are not at school and they're not able to engage in their normal extracurricular activities. There's a lot of disappointment there. They're also maybe confused and disappointed that they're not able to spend time with their friends right now. And so, what our children need most from us is to sit with them through the emotions, to validate, not to fix. And so, the first part of validating our children's emotions is to demonstrate caring, nonverbal communication. Go and sit close and just listen and let them feel their big emotions. It's really powerful when we just sit with someone while they're hurting. Second, we want to validate our child's perspective. This looks like communicating the feelings that our children have behind the words that they're saying. So our child might come to us and say something like, I really just want to see my friends, and meeting via Zoom is just not the same. And so we can respond and say, you're right, not being with your friends right now is incredibly difficult and disappointing. And Zoom is just not ideal. When we take the time to validate our children's feelings, then they begin to feel heard and understand how they're feeling themselves. The third is to redirect with logic, and this can only happen after we spend time listening to our children. Redirecting with logic may look like taking some time to brainstorm some silver linings in this really difficult season. It also may look like asking them a few questions like, what has surprised you in this time? Or how can you see God moving right now? You can also just encourage them for sacrificially loving someone that they may have never met by their choice of staying home. The fourth and final question that we're facing is, what do we do when everything comes crashing down? In such a fearful time, there's going to be feelings of chaos. And when those occur, we're going to fail. We can't keep it all together. And so there's going to be moments of harshness with our words where we are short, where we avoid conflict, where we are distant from our children. And when we feel things escalating, it is very, very important for us to go and distance ourselves and go to a quiet room. And when we're there, we want to take a few moments and practice some emotion regulation skills. This can look like deep breathing. It could also look like being present with our senses, like we mentioned earlier. But take the time to regulate. Take the time to calm down. And then when you are calm, go back to your children. Go back and sit close and apologize and say, I am so sorry that I yelled at you, and it's not okay for me to raise my voice like that, and I love you so much, and I'm so sorry. Will you please forgive me? And in those moments, it's so sweet, because what we know about our brains and relationships is that when we take the time to go and make a genuine repair with our child, our relationship deepens even more so than if we had never made a mistake at all. And I love that truth so much, because it's just like our God. It's just like our God to use humility and brokenness to redeem and restore relationships. And I love that. Lastly, when fear is overwhelming, may we not forget that God is with us. And may we not forget that He has sent His Holy Spirit to live inside of us and that He is powerful. And so when fear comes, may we remember that He can help us, that He can help us remember to surrender to Him and to yield so that we can love our children in a fearful season just like this.